Avon Resources Limited is a gold exploration company with significant projects in British Columbia, Saskatchewan, and the Yukon. Trading on the TSX Venture Exchange, symbol ABN, and the pink symbol ABN-AF. Surrounded by world-class gold deposits and mines, Avon's 23,000 hectares Forest Kerr Gold Project is located in the heart of the Golden Triangle in northwestern BC. For more information, visit us at avonresources.com.
Welcome to the Goddard Report. Comments made on the Goddard Report and TalkDigitalNetwork.com are an expression of opinion only. Here is Jim Goddard.
My guest is investigative reporter Spencer Fernando. You can find his articles at SpencerFernando.com. Welcome back to the show, Spencer.
Good to be here.
The postal strike is officially over with the workers being legislated back, but there are still labor disruptions because picket lines have gone up at a BC postal terminal by labor supporters of Cup W. Legally, the postal union can't picket, but other people say there's nothing stopping us from disrupting the post office until they get the collective agreement they want. What's your opinion on that?
Yeah, well, I think it just goes to show that Canada being so dependent on Canada Post is not really a good idea. I mean, you look around the world, there's many different, even operating within Canada, many different postal, or not postal, but delivery companies. And I think that's one area that, government dependence on that is not a good idea. And it needs to be opened up to the private sector.
Do you think it would be more efficient and cheaper than it is right now?
I think if there was more competition, it would just be better overall. I think the case for having Canada Post is to guarantee delivery to certain markets that may not be served by private companies. And maybe you keep it as a small organization for delivering to certain areas. But I think overall it's obviously, if we're this beholden to one company and they can go on strike like that, then that's a serious problem.
Is legislating them back to work the right thing, or should they have had binding arbitration?
Well, I think it's the right thing, especially given the fact that the Christmas season is coming up. I mean, having a massive postal disruption during Christmas would be a total disaster for families and for the economy. So I think one of the rare decisions the government got right. But obviously, if there's a lot of anger, they're going to have to come to a long-term solution because you can't just keep legislating back to work over and over and over again and thinking that it's not going to get worse over time.
Well, right now, too, in a lot of sectors, Canada has a labor shortage. What's stopping these people from quitting out of frustration and going someplace else, perhaps working for a private courier company?
Well, yeah, that's the thing. I mean, I think there would be a lot better competition if it was opened up. And, I mean, the current system's obviously not working, right? If other countries are seemingly able to have, pretty competitive delivery, more effective delivery, and without worrying about basically the whole delivery system grinding to a halt because of overdependence on one company. So I think it's really an outmoded way of looking at things, and I think we need to get beyond it.
Do you think the workers had a lot of legitimate complaints, such as the delivery people, the carriers, have to pack around a lot more heavy stuff than they used to in the past?
Yeah, I mean, I do feel for the workers, obviously. It's not an easy situation for them. I just think the issue is that Canada as a whole can't be beholden to a dispute between Canada Post and Canada Post employees. I think to put the whole country in that situation really is not good, and it just shows why there needs to be more competition.
Ontario Premier Doug Ford is blaming the carbon tax issue for GM packing up and deciding to close its plants and lay off workers. Is that a legitimate complaint?
Yeah, I think it's somewhat legitimate. Labor costs are a big part of the problem. Overall production costs are a part of the problem. What's disappointing overall is that, no plants, GM didn't close any plants in Mexico or China. And the new free trade agreement, the USMCA or NAFTA 2.0, whatever people want to call it, that was supposed to fix a lot of those concerns. It was supposed to balance out labor standards, labor regulations, balance out wages so we wouldn't see jobs staying or even growing in Mexico and China. in the auto industry while leaving Canada and the U.S., so that hasn't worked. So a lot of things play into it. I think the carbon tax obviously doesn't help. It's just another added cost, and companies want to reduce costs, and, they're not going to look at Canada as much if we have a carbon tax.
Do you think governments can do anything to ease the situation, or do you think those jobs are just gone?
Well, I think it would be good for government to try to talk to GM and see if there's something that could be done. I don't think a bailout would be a good idea. I mean, the problem is you bail out one sector, then you have to bail out the next and the next and the next. We've seen with Bombardier that bailing out companies obviously doesn't mean they're going to be successful down the road. But I think you can create the conditions for good economic growth, and that means low taxes, getting rid of the carbon tax, deregulation. Now, of course, those are all things the Trudeau government has no interest in doing.
We'll have more with Spencer Fernando right after the break.
I'm Douglas Mason, CEO of Naturally Splendid, symbol NSP on the TSX Venture Exchange. Naturally Splendid is a biotechnology and consumer products company focused on the global cannabis and health markets. Naturally Splendid is expanding distribution in this rapidly growing market with products currently in Canada, the USA, South Korea, Germany, and Australia. To view our comprehensive company presentation and for more information, please visit our website at naturallysplendid.com.
MGX Minerals is revolutionizing the new energy economy with patented lithium extraction technology, replacing traditional solar evaporation using low-cost, low-energy nanofiltration. The first system of this paradigm shift technology is currently being commissioned. MGX Minerals trades on the CSE, symbol XMG, the OTCQB, symbol MGXMF, and Frankfurt, symbol 1MG. For more information, visit our website, mgxminerals.com.
Welcome back. We're speaking with Spencer Fernando. Spencer, going back to Bombardier, their latest credit rating came out. It's a B-, and that's with all the government backing they've been getting from Canada and Quebec. Is this a case of a company that just gets subsidized way too much to make competent decisions?
I think so. Their executives, if you look at them objectively, their executives are only good at getting bailouts and then giving themselves bonuses. I mean, those are the two things they've been good at. They don't make a profit. They're not growing the company in Canada. It's actually shrinking in Canada. They're cutting jobs here, selling off Canadian parts of the company, in some cases to foreign companies. So it's not really as much a Canadian company anymore. And again, it creates a certain kind of attitude, I think, not with their employees, who I'm sure are working hard, but with the executives who, no matter how badly they fail, they know they get to keep giving themselves bonuses. They never get punished, and they get bailed out. I mean, the second they ran into trouble just about a week ago, the Quebec government was already saying, we'll be open to more support for them. So what's their incentive to ever succeed? Every time they fail, the government just says, here's more money. So I think it's really created, I think, a very destructive attitude within the executives of that company where, the normal standards of business, you have to make a profit or you go out of business, doesn't really apply to them.
Well, I wondered with their Series C aircraft, which is now the Airbus 220, why did they have to develop their own engines when there's lots of good engines available off the shelf?
Yeah, it's a good question. You'd have to ask them. I don't even know if they know what they're doing, really.
So basically, they should stick to snowmobiles and rapid transit systems.
Well, even the rapid transit, I think they lost a contract in Toronto, I believe it was, or they had serious problems with a streetcar contract where they were late over and over and over again, had some serious problems. And it looks like they're about to lose a Via Rail contract to Siemens AG from Germany. So they can't even win contracts within Canada lately. So that's, I don't really know where they're going to succeed.
Well, they make snowmobiles, but the first SkyTrain cars they made back in 1986 didn't work in the snow.
Whoops.
Whoops.
That's a bit of an oversight.
We'll have more with Spencer Fernando after the break.
Grand Portage Resources recently completed the 2018 drill program on its 100% controlled Herbert Gold Discovery property located in the prolific Juneau Belt in southeast Alaska. Drill results are expected through late 2018. Past drill results included numerous multi-ounce gold assays on multiple veins. Grand Portage trading symbols are GPG on the TSX Venture, GPTRF on the OTCQB, and GPB on Frankfurt. For more information, please visit our website, grandportage.com.
Don't miss out. Stay informed. Receive the HowStreet.com weekly recap with thought-provoking podcasts, radio, and articles delivered to your inbox. Sign up for the HowStreet.com weekly recap on our homepage at HowStreet.com.
Welcome back. We're speaking with Spencer Fernando. Spencer, a Liberal MP who said he had to step down for health reasons. What's the background to this, and who is it?
It's Liberal MP Raj Grewal. He said he was resigning to deal with health issues. It was, personal and health issues. And then apparently the PMO muzzled Liberal MPs, told him not to talk about it. And then the PMO said, it was actually a gambling issue he had that he had to resign. And now they're not really saying they're just saying, we're not going to comment anymore on it. And there's a story today where it turns out that he was on the House of Commons Finance Committee, and transcripts of committee hearings show that he was asking quite a lot of questions about how the RCMP and FinTrack collect data on financial transactions more than $10,000 at financial institutions and casinos. And part of the issue is that he apparently had tons of money that was being spent at casinos, and he is apparently under investigation right now. So he was asking a lot of questions eerily, perhaps similar to what he may be being investigated for. So people are saying, well, it's not really fair for the government to just say, it's a personal issue, we're not going to talk about it anymore, when it seemed he was using an official position, a chance to talk to officials within the government about things that seem kind of linked to what his issue may be. So people want more answers, and the government seems to be hoping they can just filibuster and get away with really saying nothing more about it, but there's definitely a lot more, it seems, to be uncovered there.
Is there anything more with Tony Clement, the security concerns, and his personal crisis being the Anthony Weiner of Canada sending out photos of his junk?
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't seen too much of Tony Clement on social media lately, so I'm not sure what's going on there, but I don't know. I haven't seen anything more on security concerns. I think that's still being looked into. I don't know what's ahead for his career. It's going to be interesting for him. It looks like he's not resigning as an MP. Maybe if there's no security concerns, he'll be somewhat welcomed back within the Conservative Party, perhaps. I really don't know what's going to happen there, but it seems like he's been fairly quiet lately.
Well, that's a substantial salary they collect for a guy who's not in the House.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's always interesting when they say they're getting treatment. I'm not really sure if politicians actually do get treatment or if they just kind of hang out at home for a while and hope the scandal goes away and then they can come back. Not really sure what goes on there, but, he, I guess, made some mistakes, not really good the way he acted, obviously. At a certain point, it just becomes kind of a personal issue for him and his family, so hopefully that can all get worked out and people can move on, but, we'll see. The thing with Grewal is it's, I think, so little information has been given by the Trudeau government, and they really look like they're trying to get away with not saying anything about it. So, I think there's a little more to be looked at there.
The St. Michael's criminal crisis going on with the private school in Toronto. Should private schools in Ontario come under more public scrutiny? Because right now they don't even have to meet education standards.
Yeah, to be honest, that's not an issue I'm too aware of in terms of how private schools are governed in Ontario. I would say, part of the reason people want to send their kids to private schools is because they don't like the public system, they don't like the bureaucracy, and they want some distance from that. So I can understand people being a little resistant to having it come under too much government control. Obviously, if there's rampant abuse going on, that does need to be looked into and dealt with, but I don't think people would necessarily say the answer is more central government control over that.
Going back to the carbon tax, BC's applied for intervener status in the court battle between Ottawa and several provinces over the tax. Is BC on the wrong side of the line?
I think so. Not only I think are they on the wrong side of it, but I wrote about it yesterday. It's very funny, the argument made by the BC minister was that if they have the carbon tax and other provinces don't have it, that it'll hurt BC's competitiveness, which is really admitting that the carbon tax is bad for the economy, which is funny because Trudeau and BC, they all try to say the opposite. They say, oh, this is good for the economy. Well, if it's so good for the economy, then why would it hurt your economy to have it when other economies don't? You'd think you'd want that, right? It must be hurting them. And then the minister also said that pollution and emissions don't respect provincial or international boundaries. So why do we have a carbon tax in Canada at all when China keeps massively increasing emissions? I mean, 1 year of China increasing emissions is more than, just their increase is more than all of Canada's emissions in a year. So the idea that we're strangling our own economy when everyone else is still increasing emissions, it's just outrageous.
The people of Washington state had a referendum on imposing a carbon tax. They voted massively against it, and I think this is like the second or third time they've done that.
Mm-hmm.
So
well,
BC has to,
happening in France, too.
Right. So BC has to compete directly with Washington state. What does that say about competitiveness here? Because I've heard people planning to open up manufacturing plants have chosen Washington state for the reason they don't want to pay carbon tax.
Yeah, it almost seems like some sort of collective insanity going on sometimes, because you have really nothing we do here is going to make a difference to global emissions. I mean, it's literally politicians are just doing this so they can feel better about themselves. That's really the only thing that's happened. It's not going to have any impact on global emissions. So we're hurting our own economy, costing ourselves jobs, pushing jobs and investment out of the country, just so some politicians can feel like they're doing something. It's really crazy. And, you hope at some point people wake up and say, this doesn't make any sense. Yeah, we want to help the environment, and really the best way to do that is to support innovation. I mean, it's very interesting. The United States they're coming closer to achieving the Paris climate targets than any other country, and they're not even in the Paris Accord. And it's because they've embraced innovation. States are allowed to experiment. So it's good for businesses there, so when there's low business taxes, businesses are free to compete. When there's an entrepreneurial attitude without too much government intervention, people innovate, and innovation often leads to forms of energy that are more efficient. And that's what you're seeing in the States. Whereas in Canada, our emissions are still going up. We're not doing well at all for the Paris targets. Not that I think we should be going for the Paris targets at all. I think the whole Accord's a joke and we shouldn't be in it. But even if you go by that standard, the U.S., which is not in it, is doing better than we are. And we have a carbon tax. So it really seems like a big fraud.
Spencer, thank you so much for chatting with us.
Yeah, good talking to you.
My guest has been investigative reporter Spencer Fernando. If you have any questions for Spencer or for the show, you can send them to info@housestreet.com. I'm Jim Goddard. Thanks for listening.
Comments made on the Goddard Report and TalkDigitalNetwork.com are an expression of opinion only. The Goddard Report is available online and mobile at TalkDigitalNetwork.com. The Goddard Report is a production of House Street Media Incorporated.